So hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you, Angelo and Eduardo, for keeping me on track. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here today for our first live event of Hope, Heart, and the Human Spirit. I'm so excited for that you were able to be here, and I'm really grateful for the enthusiasm. Hopefully you'll have a great session with us this afternoon. I am delighted to be joined by two of my dear friends. They both happen to be gay men. I promise in future sessions we'll have other representation from around the room. So I want to just mention Angelo first, who will be behind the scenes. Do you want to say hi, Angelo?
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here.
Angelo and I used to sing in the New York City Gay Men's Chorus together. And so he's going to be our radio podcast producer host. So he's going to monitor the chat so Eduardo and I can really focus on the conversation. And he may interrupt us to share themes that are coming up in the chat thread or questions that you have. So feel free to use the chat thread as much as you want. And Angelo will be helping to keep Eduardo and I on track. So I just wanted to say just a couple words about why I started Hummingbird Humanity. I have spent 20 years in human resources and in diversity and inclusion, and I have this belief that companies should put their people first, and that putting people first is really the core of success for any business. I also think that to do that, we have to start with the stories of those humans and those people that are part of those companies and organizations. So that's what this series is all about, is the hope, heart, and human spirit of those people that work in corporate America, work in the organizations around the world, and to hear their stories and see how that might influence how we architect our new normal and what the workplace will look like as we move out of the pandemic. So that's why I've invited my dear friend Eduardo, who's been a wonderful champion for me and an amazing human. So Eduardo, do you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Yes. There were so many things to yaz about in your sharing, Brian. Just acknowledging you for the courage, like I did offline, but we'll do so online. I just love already the ways in which people have been responding to your own humanity. You were just being vulnerable. It's just being real. We're just trying to be people on the planet. So I can already see that in the people who've been joining us and how they're loving you through this launch, and just the courage to be someone on the planet with an idea and giving birth to it right now. It's just so powerful. So thank you for channeling your own hope, heart, and human spirit in a context that allows other people to find their own connection to that in these times.
Thanks, Eduardo.
So my name is Eduardo Placer.
I have to say before you go into that, so the reason today is happening is because Eduardo and I 2 weeks ago had a conversation. He's been my mentor as I've been getting ready to make this launch, and he said, "Brian, you're ready. Go, go do it." So I just want to say thank you, Eduardo.
You're welcome.
Please introduce yourself.
So my name is Eduardo Placer. I have the privilege of being the founder of Fearless Communicators. We're an inclusive, diverse public speaking coaching business. And we work with thought leaders on what they say and how they say it. And the root of my passion and commitment to that is in relationship to my own silencing and my own relationship with myself and with my voice. And that comes from the trauma of being a gay kid growing up in Miami, Florida. And I grew up I was born in 1977, grew up in the 80s, went to high school in the late 80s, early 90s, and knew inherently from a very early age that the only way that I could survive was about lying about who I was. And I didn't really get the impact of that until recently, but to reflect on what does it mean to be a liar for the first 18 years of my life, when everything around you, I went to Jesuit prep school, so I went to Catholic education, like one of the 10 commandments, do not tell a lie. I feel like every teacher, be honest, tell the truth, that when you tell the truth, it's very powerful to tell the truth. And yet there was this inner knowing survival mechanism that said, your community, your family, the people around you can't handle the truth. the truth would shatter everything. Mm. And I held it. I held on to that belief. And I came out at 18. I was in college. had the privilege of going to the University of Pennsylvania, and then started my journey to kind of realigning and reassessing, like, who is this person? You know, that's always been inside, but now that I've given voice to the truth, right now, how do I start learning how to manage and be with that truth? And that trauma is still with me. I am a gay man who's been out, you know, for over 20 years. And the homophobia of the world around me is completely internalized. And there is probably no greater homophobe to myself than me. And that is something that I am like navigating and in relationship with, you know, as I continue to develop in my own life. And what I discovered, you know, the statistic is that 75% of people suffer from speech anxiety, and I believe everybody else lies. And I think there is some root trauma or some fear or some shame that we are all navigating, some lies, some covering up that we fear the truth. An audience sees right through us, and we feel like we have to perform something other than who we are in order to show up. And that's what I'm out to dispel. I am committed that people show up as they are, in whatever body they have, in whatever voice that they have, to communicate in service of the people who they're speaking to. And I feel so much of public speaking training is about, like, you know, knowing your thing and then looking good. Who the hell cares? Do you know what I mean? I just want someone who's a person who is up there committed that I get something out of it. That's what I want. And I think that there are ways in which the ways we teach performance, the ways we teach speaking, the way we teach leadership are inherently patriarchal and colonial. And we're taught to perform professionalism, which is not necessarily in alignment with our authentic expression. And I'm really curious and I'm really interested in how diverse voices and diverse bodies show up as they are to speak their truth. That was a lot.
That was a lot, and I have so many things I want to respond to. Well, first of all, I know I saw a couple of the comments pop up on my screen, and one I read said, "Thank you for being so vulnerable." So I would like to say that and express that as well. I'm a big believer, as I know you are, in that vulnerability, that authenticity, that honesty and openness is so essential in the work that we do today. And there's so much I relate to there. I went back into the closet when I started my first job in HR because I didn't think I could be successful and be me. And one of the jobs that I had, I went every day and I tried to be the person they wanted me to be. And I would go to therapy every week, and I would talk to my therapist and say, they want me to assimilate. I'm not who they want me to be. And I struggled so much every day of trying to be the person and the definition of what they wanted me to be. And it was damaging to my spirit. And I want to live in a place where we can be ourselves when we go to work. And I'm sure that there are a lot of people on this call who resonate with that feeling and that desire. And I'm curious, like, as you've taken your journey and you've switched careers and over your life journey to find your voice and your way of being of service, how did that transpire for you so you could be yourself and do work you love and make a difference in the world?
What's so funny, because of course, for someone who, you know, for the first 18 years of his life lied and tried to perform a version of myself that was lovable and accepted, you know, what I aspired to be more than anything in my life was an actor, where I would get paid to put on costumes and, you know, live in a world where men sang and danced, which was my aspiration. And I think that Angelo, you, and I hear there are gay men's chorus people that are probably on this that probably suffer from an acute condition that I call show tunitis, which is the show tune is strong in this young Padawan. I'm an identical twin and my brother's straight. And when we were twins playing with toys, my brother played War with the G.I. Joes and I played War, the musical. And my characters had monologues. So as you were talking about, you know, going to see your therapist, I was thinking on a clear day, you can see forever. Like I was totally in like show tune land. But to ground you back into that moment, for me, the discovery, like I became an actor because that's what I wanted to be more than anything in my entire life. That was not something that my community and the ecosystem that I was in, I felt supported me in. So went to college, played by the rules. And then when I finished college, moved to New York, and I said, I played by everybody's rules, and now I'm going to do what I want to do. I want to be an actor. And I think what is inherent in that has always been a curiosity in human beings. And I think because there was a part of me, and I'm going to speak from my experience, and I don't believe, I'm not going to say that this is true, sitting ex cathedra as the Catholic, or lapsed Catholic, very lapsed, is I think that as a survival mechanism, I had to look and see and observe to see if a space or a person was safe. So there was just an EQ, like a tuning, that I think just always had me vibrate in the key of human being. Right? So like I was constantly like assessing, like, is this, or, so because of that, I just think my mom used to call me orejitas. So I'm Cuban American, and orejitas means little ears. And that's because I would always listen to all the conversations that were happening around me. So my ears were always attuned to, like, if we were at a restaurant, like, what were they talking about at the table next to us? What about the people behind us? And my mother would be like, Eduardo, para, orejitas. Eduardo, stop it. Little ears, stop eavesdropping on other people's conversations. That's rude. And I just think I just had an inherent curiosity in other people and other people's stories. I also studied English, so I was always a student of literature. And because I loved theater and I loved musical theater, I just always was interested in the architecture of stories and the architecture of storytelling, right? And I think one of the beautiful things of being an actor is that an actor is given words, and then we're part of narrative. Like we're a tool in the expression of a story and understanding what is my story in relationship to the greater story that's being told, right? And I think that I think I've always been fascinated in people, and I've always been fascinated in people's stories. So as an actor, that was very present when I went to initially, like, I was very interested in politics as a kid. I grew up in Miami, Florida. Like I said, my parents are of the few two Cuban Democrats, thank God. So, and in 10th grade, I was holding up signs that said pro-choice, pro-Clinton, and I interned on Capitol Hill. Like, I thought I was going to go into politics. And I think there was always a part of me that was also framed about being in service. Ended up on Capitol Hill, and I hated it. I was like, this sucks. I was like, there's no way I'm ever coming back. This is a total show. And then when I became an actor, I had the privilege of attending one of the top conservatories in the US in La Jolla. So I went to UC San Diego in La Jolla, and all the actors teach public speaking. And what was really cool was understanding and seeing how we're taught to speak as an intellectual exercise, but not taught to speak as a physical, spiritual, and emotional exercise. So people are, for the most part, a bunch of talking heads, and completely and totally divorced from what's happening in their body, like completely cut off from their body. And that's not even the people who have shame about their body, which is probably everybody. Most people who look at themselves in their mirror and like,
raise
I really
hands.
look like
I'm sure we'd all raise our hands.
Yeah. Not to mention that I have a lot of shame around my voice. And the thing about the human voice is like a fingerprint. There's no other sound that is like the sound of your voice. And as a kid, it was always a dead giveaway that there was something about my voice that was feminine. There was something about my voice that was like girlish, which is what the words that they had prior to 4th grade or 5th grade, where then it sounds gay, or you're gay. And then as it got older, it was faggot, right? So like, it's like the ways in which and the ways in which I felt like I had to cover my voice or mask my voice or deepen my voice. I was so grateful that puberty hit right before I went to an all-male Jesuit prep school. So there were all these ways in which there's all this trauma in the ways that I tried to kind of cover the mask of this, right? And of course, I wanted to be an actor where I could play other roles when in reality, the biggest fear that I have, the most primal fear, and I'm going to say something, Angela, Brian, and everybody else who's on this, I'm going to be responsible for what I'm going to say in advance, but this is what it is. My biggest fear, and this is my biggest fear for the people who are out here texting, who I can't even see, is you're going to think that I'm a faggot. And that's what the bully inside of my brain, which is the voice of the bully in the world and my father and the people around me, like that bully is alive and has me feel like I have to shift who I am and cover and hide. And and that's mine. Everyone has their own version of that, I believe. And I think that that's what stops us from actually really showing up authentically, not as a buzzword, pardon my F-bomb, but as the truth.
You have one of my favorite phrases, just be a person.
Just be a person. Can we please just be a person?
Well, and I resonate
That's
so much
all I want.
with what you're saying, in that I was sharing this story with someone last night of one of my favorite TED Talks is called All the Little Things. It's from a drag queen in Ireland. And she tells the story, but it's really herself. It's really the story of the gay man who's behind that character. And it's about the choices we make as gay men who walk into the world, and can we hold the hands of our significant other? And is it safe? And so rather than that being a beautiful moment, it's a moment of defiance, it's a moment of courage, it's a moment of a political statement. And we always have to make that conscious choice as we go along and through the world. But I remember back when I first started training, I remember feeling the same way. I was afraid people were going to figure out that I was a gay man when I was in front of the room. And I learned that I had to embrace me to be effective.
And I also want to add that because I'm speaking from my experience as a gay man, and you also identify as a gay man, Brian, Angela, who's on this call, I assume also identifies as a gay man. That I think that there's something really interesting about male homophobia, right? Which is, for me, it is misogyny. It is the hatred of the feminine. There is no greater assault on the masculine than a feminized man. Like the biggest insult you could tell a little boy is that he's like a girl. You're so girly. Like that's so weak. And one of the things that I've had to navigate is I've always had this fear or this belief that I'm weak, that I'm not strong because of that, right? And even like, when I was a kid and kids would make fun of me and I would cry and I would get upset, and I would tell my parents, my father used to say, punch the kid in the mouth. And I never punched him. I never punched a bully. I was never violent because my biggest fear was that the moment that I would punch them, it wouldn't hurt them. Like that my biggest fear is that I would go for the reach and it would hit them and they would laugh. So I internalized that. Right? And then last year was my 20-year college reunion. And when I was in undergrad, I was in a 70s a cappella group called The Pensions. And it was a 70s a cappella, and we all wore costumes. And my costume was a 2-piece pink and white leisure suit with 5-inch platform heels. It wasn't drag. I was a boy it's Tu Wong Fu. I was not a drag queen. I was a boy in a dress. Do you know what I mean? But It was like a little pre-postmodern. It was pre-postmodern, where I was like, yeah, I could have facial hair and I could still wear it was like gender bending, whatever, in 1997, right? And I thought, how courageous, how strong to, at 20 years old, before Will and Grace, before Ellen, don a two-piece pink and white leisure suit, do one-handed cartwheels and sing Fame to a chair dance, like that's courage. The courage 18 to stand in front of my family and my parents and say, I'm gay. Like that strength, like to risk oblivion, to risk like the loss of everything that I knew. That courage is powerful and strong. And it was like this reawakening at 43 of like, that was powerful. And yes,
Absolutely.
I have the Yaz pin on my on my thing to remind myself.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. And of course, as I've gotten to know you, you have so much love and support and such amazing people in the world around you. And I can only make an assumption because we're still, it's only been 6 months, I think, since we've known each other. That part of that is because you're living your authentic self. One of the things, though, that I love about what you've chosen to do is you've taken that courage of being your authentic self and your ability to, I love this, the key of being human. Tune into the key of being human. That might be the name that we put on this as we.
That's the new one. That one just dropped out of my mouth a couple of days ago.
Amazing.
Like, I'm vibrating. I'm vibrating in the key of human being.
I love it. We're going to use it. We're going to make you famous for that quote. I love it. Well, but I love that you have chosen to be a champion for women in your work. And that's one of the stories when I'm telling other people about this wonderful man I met, Eduardo, I talk about you have this amazing community, fearless force. I had a chance to join your, was it 4-year anniversary yesterday? 4-year anniversary. I'll let you tell about it, but I was in this room with 60 other women who are telling these raw, vulnerable stories. And some really amazing poetry and songs.
All about the vagina.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I've never even gone down there, but we were like,
It was incredible, and I just love the realness, and I also love that in the rooms when I've had a chance to hear some of those women tell their stories, how much I resonate with their stories, but how powerful they are, and all ages and races, and just it's a beautiful community, and they've embraced me, which is beautiful. So tell us about Fearless Force, because you've taken your voice and your power and your confidence and helped others define that in themselves.
Yeah. Well, I think it's so interesting. I think what I am a champion of is the feminine. And I think that it is an ongoing relationship that I have with the way in which I've been at war with my own. That feels really raw to say that, but I just feel like that's the truth, right? And for me in this moment, and the ways in which I can also see that we're all at war with it, and it's in how we treat women, it's how men treat the feminine inside of them, how they beat it out of little boys, how they beat it out of little girls, and I think we create what we need. I didn't know that I needed that. I didn't know that that was the medicine that I needed, but I knew and I trusted in the moment that I had an amazing ability to create safety with women. And I identify as a Kinsey 6 gay man. I have absolutely zero sexual interest in women whatsoever. I am a Gold Star gay. And I think women feel really safe in my presence because they're in the presence of a man. And it's actually really beautiful because I feel like I have access to and permission to be in both spaces that are both homosocial male and also homosocial female, right? So it's kind of fascinating to be able to dance in both of those spaces and have beautiful, intimate relationships in spaces that are only with men, straight men and gay men. And then also men who identify as men, however they identify as men, and then same with women. And knowing that within that, in the work that I do, there was a way in which the women who I worked with as a public speaking coach could continue, they called me the secret weapon, that I could continue to source them as powerful through their physical and mental journey to show up to speak the truth that they had to communicate. So that was something that I was just tracking and just really curious. And I do work with men. I work very well with men. And I also work with women. And then I got political because I am. It's a privilege of being a queer Latin man in this country.
Are we allowed to talk politics in these?
Well, I'm not saying, I'm not going to talk about, I'm not going to give any, but I mean, you probably know exactly where you think I would fit on the political spectrum is where I fit on the political spectrum. I've been marching. I've been doing a lot of marching, and I've been doing a lot of singing with the marching as well. Anyway, but what happened is I was noticing specifically, and I started my entrepreneurial journey, which, I mean, I think being an actor is an entrepreneur. Like an actor is someone who faces oblivion all the time and the vision of a dream with very little, promise of anything. And it's like, I'm going to, show up, to a city with a dance belt and a Diet Coke and a dream, and like live my best life as I sing 16 bars from audition to audition to audition to be in a show. And so the entrepreneurial journey was not new. However, when I started as a business owner for my public speaking coaching business, I was tracking that I serve women. I'm working with women who are founders, women who are entrepreneurs, women who are starting businesses. There's a process that they're finding really powerful in relationship to me. And I was getting notifications about events and panels and all this other stuff. And it was all men. Maybe 3 women.
Yeah.
And specifically white men. And white women. And maybe like 2 or 3 people of color that I could see in the way that I could identify diversity. And as someone who I pass, I identify as Latinx, but depending on where I am and where other people are, do you know what I mean? I also don't speak with a defined accent. So unless I start sharing or speaking in Spanish or talking about my upbringing, people don't necessarily place me in any space, which is something that I always do, which is I assert my identity, who I am, where I'm from, my culture, my heritage, etc. What was interesting is I was not present to diversity when I was watching that. And I was like, that doesn't work. So what I thought is, what would happen if I could consolidate my one-on-one journey with a private client into a group experience just for women? And that was the experiment. And that was the first Fearless Force program, which we did May 5th. It finished. It was May 5th, 2016. And it's 6 days. And what happens is you show up on Saturday and then you speak on Thursday. That's what happens. And what the women are after over the course of 2 days is the creation of some type of thought leadership. So a signature speech, like a TED Talk, 50 minutes. And then 4 days later, they deliver it in front of a live audience. Now, what emerged was something completely different. What emerged and was created, I'm going to acknowledge Jessica Robinson, one of our entrepreneurs who talks about cybersecurity as love. She talks about creating containers of safety and love. What we create is a container of safety and love that can hold the truth that is looking to emerge. So this is not brain-centered, idea-centered speaking. I don't care about your big idea. If it's about you.
Right. It's human. What's your story?
How does that idea ultimately, how does that resonate in the key of human being? Right? I don't need another PowerPoint presentation. I don't need another slide deck. I don't need a lecture on chemistry. I don't need anyone sitting up on a stage telling me what to think or how to think. Right? I want a human being up there to share. Not to lecture, not to dominate, but to just be a person and communicate. So, and there's a very specific process that we go to, and I call it the story doula process. That's also something that's been born, like I'm a story doula. And the thing about the term in Spanish to give birth is to dar a luz, which means to bring to light, which is really beautiful. And I love languages, and I'm always very interested in languages, and I believe religion, like language, are all multiple prisms with which to understand the human experience. And there's certain terms, like birth doesn't sound, I'm very curious to see actually what the origin of the word birth is. I'm interested in etymology, but the term dar a luz, to bring to light, is literally what that act is. And what we do in this process is we create the circumstances and the context and the container that can hold the truth that is looking to emerge from you. There's a great saying, and we do work in Australia, and it's Aboriginal in origin, which is, the story is hunting its storyteller.
Oh, I love that.
So there are stories, like there's nothing new, Brian. Like it's all like, I don't think I'm saying anything new. Like I'm not, this is, and there's a certain story that has hunted me in this moment to be the vessel of. And because it's vibrating in my pitch, in my key, through my body, through my personal experience, it can and may occur as new. And yet I'm not the first person on the planet who has come out to his family. I'm not the first person on this planet who's had self-loathing. I'm not the first person on the planet who has internalized homophobia. I'm not the first person on the planet to want to be of service to other people. And there is a fundamental truth that this moment is looking to allow to come out. So we create the container for that truth. So that's why I say you show up on Saturday, because people come up thinking that they know what they want to talk about. And there's some other truth that is there. And that's what it's not a force. It's not a push. Like literally, there are the women who show up and they're like, I'm just going to surrender. I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. Some women do. Some women, I know exactly what I'm going to talk about, and some do. And some are like, I know exactly what I'm going to talk about. And they're like, that's not what I want to talk about. This is what I want to talk about. I'm like, okay, let's talk about that. Right? So we do that. And that process, the storyteller process, I say we begin always grounded in body, present in mind, lead from the heart, and speak into the spirit of our shared humanity.
Do you want to say that again? Because I'm sure that everyone, because I know we're all like, can you repeat those?
I'm going to repeat that again. So we are grounded in body, present in mind, lead from the heart, and then speak into the spirit of our shared humanity. And what I mean by that is, first thing we have to do is connect to our body. There's a great saying from Papua New Guinea, from an indigenous tribe in Papua New Guinea, which is, knowledge is only rumor until it lives in the muscle. There is knowledge in your every muscle of your body, right? And what we want to uncover is what is there. What is the knowledge that is there? That is not here, but here. What is that? The lived experience, the layers of experience that you are holding, right? So we want to release that, like channel it, get it moving, right? Understanding our voice, how our voice shows up to the event of speaking, right? And then identifying what are the limiting beliefs that we have about ourselves, right? That we project into our creation and into our speaking, thinking that the audience, for me, thinks that I'm gay, or that I'm fat, or I'm unattractive, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not an expert, or they should have hired somebody else, or why didn't they get that person who has more Instagram followers than I do? Like all the bullshit that gets in our head that has us like all the nasty, ugly things. Like, let's actually give voice to that so we can actually get it out of the way and not get rid of it, because it's not going to go away. It's like, it's a fallacy to think that it's going to disappear through some magic trick. Right? This isn't Harry Potter, although I wish, and I'm a Gryffindor. But I think that it's about distinguishing that it's there so you can start building a relationship with it. I surrender my fear every time I walk on stage. I'm doing it moment by moment when I'm on here sharing on this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
I just had a call with a potential client for a sports team to work with this organization. And I said, just to clarify, I am a gay man. And I'm not going to hide that. So if that is an issue, right, then I just want to name that up front so that we all know what we're dealing with. Then there may be somebody else who you would want in this place, but I'm not going to hide who I am for a job, even in a pandemic and in a recession where my sales have dropped 96%, right? Like, I'm still not willing to compromise who I am, right? And so anyway, so grounded in body, present in mind, distilling that so that we can get out of the way. Get the hell out of the way so that your heart can communicate what there is for your heart to communicate to people, to other people. And when you speak from there, when you lean in from there, when your storytelling comes from that space of true connection, right? There's nothing like it, specifically if you're telling the truth. Because when you tell the truth, what you do is you take the air out of the room and then it flushes back in, and that air is deeper and richer, and everyone is just like leaning in. I see Angela breathing in. I think Angela's feeling it. There's nothing like it. And what there is release. And it's like there's tension, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, oh my God, there it is. And I think that that's what happens. I think that's why the events are moving. That's why audience members, when they're in the audience, have that experience, because what they're witnessing is the truth as it emanates from a human being who's standing in front of them, not to show off, not to seal the deal, not to nail it, not to crush it, not to get more Instagram followers, not to be an expert, but because they're up there in service of you. Because ultimately it is through the sharing of their story that there's an opportunity for you to see what resonates for you, that has you have an opportunity to connect and shift and acknowledge and recognize and breathe and release. And that space becomes transformative for the speaker and for the audience at the same time. And the last piece of it, the spirit piece, I say, I mean, I was raised Catholic, but I don't have any specific spiritual practice or religious practice. And I'm in full belief of everything. Do you know what I mean? So by all means, if they're angels and guides, and I receive them, I accept them, I love them, I don't think too much about them, and receive whatever there is. There's something going on. However, the root word of the word spirit, and I go back to etymology and words, is the same root word as the word to inspire, or to expire, or to aspire. And it comes from the Latin spirare, which means to breathe. Just like in Spanish, respirar is to breathe. Inspirar is to inhale. Expirar is to exhale. So to inspire is, yes, to get someone to feel and be moved, but it's also to inhale. To inhale, to breathe in. Just like to expirar or to expire is to breathe out. And to aspire with breath. Right? And when we speak, when we expire, on our breath is our voice. So when you speak, what you're sharing is spirit. And what happens is the receiver, even though we're in a virtual platform, I'm speaking, I can see you, Angela, I can see you, Brian. I don't know who else is listening. I don't see you, but I'm seeing the names rolling down the stream. My commitment is in my speaking, in my exhale, in my parents' apartment in Miami Beach, where I've been quarantining and socially distancing by myself, is that something that I am saying will vibrate in the key of human being and move you and have you feel something and experience something in the sharing of my spirit with you. And if something that I said moved you and had you feel something, and you then go off and share that to someone else, then my spirit lives on in that. Whether I'm here tomorrow or not, that the experience that we have, what was shared, that had you feel something, again, and my Angelou said, we don't remember what people say, we remember how people make us feel. That when you feel something, that spirit has moved you, and now you are moved by the spirit and will now communicate, share, speak, and honor that and cherish that in whatever way there is for you to do in the world. And in this moment, for that, I'm extremely grateful.
I love it. I love it. And I think I've heard you share that probably 4 or 5 times, and I love it every single time. It's so moving. I want to sidebar for a moment. Angela, I'm going to come to you in a second just to see if there are any questions or comments or things that Eduardo or I should talk about from the group. But before that, I want to make, some of you or all of you may have seen the dog in my lap a minute ago. His name, he's here watching me. His name is Bosco.
We love Bosco.
Bosco's the best. I didn't realize when I planned for these, and this is going to be one of those human moments, like, you know, like the muting earlier when I was talking and welcoming everyone on mute, or this morning when I messed up trimming my beard, and which is why it's ridiculously short right now. So these are very human moments. I also planned these sessions right before Bosco's dinner time. So this is when he likes to remind me that dinner's coming. So he will probably appear on every episode of Hope, Heart, and Human Spirit. So
I love it. Bosco is welcome. Yeah.
And he is the Chief Happiness Officer of Hummingbird Humanity. So he's here to bring us joy and love and light.
Yeah.
So and with that, Angelo, anything from the audience or just things you want to share that you're seeing in the chat?
There's just so much great chat and happening right now, and just folks are really just supportive of all the stuff that you're saying, and just being inspired and aspiring to do great things. No questions. If there are questions, feel free to submit them here. I know we have a Q&A button, but don't look at that Q&A button. Just put it in the chat box, and then I can let Brian and Eduardo know that there may be some questions to answer. But there's just lots of fun things. One thing I'll share was somebody said, you know, they added their Gryffindor to their she, her. I don't know if you all saw that. It went away. She, her, hers, Gryffindor. I loved that, Bernadette.
I saw that too.
I love that. I love that. Well,
and we're inclusive of all houses. So Ravenclaw, Slytherins, and Hufflepuffs.
There's all welcome.
For all of us. There's room for all of us.
All welcome. And Republicans are actually welcome as well. I know that we might lean Democrat, but everyone's welcome. You know, and one thing I wanted to say there is that, you know, Eduardo and I are both here because of all of you on the phone. So, you know, at the end, I'll also ask for if you have suggestions for future calls or people you want to hear from, because we're doing this, I think we're both here, and the reason I'm doing this is in service of the community. So I'm glad you're resonating, and that makes me super happy, because that's why we're here to share these stories. You know, and Eduardo, one of the questions I wanted to ask you, and something go ahead.
Justin just posted in the chat, can I go over the 4 pieces again? And I'll say it again for you, Justin. Yeah. It's grounded in body, present in mind, lead from the heart, and speak into the spirit of our shared humanity.
Awesome. Thank
and
you.
Surby just posted something. Yeah. Love you, Surby.
We love Surby.
Yeah.
I love it. So, Eduardo, I know neither one of us, we're both New Yorkers. We're both not in New York. Right?
Exiled.
We're exiled. We're sheltering in place somewhere else. And, you know, so I want to acknowledge, and I'm actually kind of glad that we're not centering our conversation around the pandemic, which is the center of every conversation these days. But I want to ask you a question of, you know, and I've been reflected on, because I've done okay in this pandemic, and I've been finding my way, and actually in some ways I'm thriving, and I know a lot of people are really significantly impacted, and I feel for those individuals in those communities. I'm curious, you know, what in your life journey has helped you prepare for this, or how has this been unsettling for you, or how are you finding your way through it? Because you do this in other ways in your life, and I'm just wondering what you sort of key into to connect with to keep you going.
I think it's a beautiful question, and I'll share a story. So I have some dear friends of mine that I met when I was an actor in Idaho at the Idaho Shakespeare Festival. And it is a married couple that are patrons of the theater, and they became dear friends. And they suffered a huge loss. They lost their middle child in a skiing accident. And I met them like maybe 5 or 6 years after that loss, and had just been so moved by how they had channeled. What they chose to do was love through the grief and love each other through the grief. And a loss like that, like there's no there's no manual, like people deal with it however they deal with it, right? And there was a choice that they made together, like for their relationship, for their family, to love each other through that grief. And they channeled that grief into the creation of a summer camp in memory of their son. Mm. And when they were presented with an award for that contribution to the community, he was asked the question, what do you do when you're faced with an event or something that shatters your life, where everything that you hold dear is completely shattered, and you wake up and the world looks completely different than the way that it did the day before? And he said that he was a backcountry skier. So he's a backcountry skier and has always been in the back mountains where he grew up in Idaho. And they're his mountains, and he was back there with his wife, and they were on a trip, back in the back country. Not a place where myself would ever. I'm a sea level person. I am not a back mountain kind of person. And they lost their way. And she got concerned and turned to him and said, are you lost? Are we lost? And he said, I'm not lost. I just don't know where I am right now. I'm not lost. I just don't know where I am right now. And I feel like that's my truth in this moment. Like all of us, I woke up one day and the world looked completely different from anything that I had ever imagined was possible. I was doing work in San Francisco. I then ended up in Boulder, Colorado, and now I'm in Miami Beach. I've been exiled from my home for over 2 months, and I have no idea when I'm going to go home again. Unbelievable privilege in that my parents have an apartment in Miami Beach. It's where they live, and they are exiled from their home in Miami in Boston with my sister. So their apartment was open, so I had a place to go to. So I had unbelievable privilege in that I was able to go somewhere, right? And found myself on a Monday where the prospects of everything that I had booked and created were gone. And I had a day with nothing in it. I'd applied for the loans. I'd, done all the things that there were for me to do. I've been positive and powerful and grateful, and and thinking about my feng shui and my namaste, and and just staying optimistic and upbeat. And then that Monday morning, I was like, what the fuck is happening? And was faced with the reality of the new world that we were in, where I have to wear a mask when I leave out my apartment, where I'm in a line to go into a grocery store, right? Where I haven't touched anyone, in weeks. Do you know what I mean? I don't know when that'll happen again. Like all of these realities that are part of this world that just hadn't kind of settled in. And in that moment, the words came to me: you're not lost, you just don't know where you are right now. And I found such comfort in that, because I said, unbelievable privilege. I have shelter. I have food. I have not much of a savings, but I have a little bit of a savings, right? I have an extended family network, like that I could go sleep in someone's house if I had to, right? Like like my Maslow's hierarchy of needs are taken care of. Like and fully acknowledging that there are a ton of people who are not in that predicament. Mm. Right? So recognizing, still making space for my feelings about it, right? And acknowledging that even within, like, I can still be grateful and pissed at the same time. You know, like, that's the beauty of our humanity and the beauty of Stephen Sondheim, who teaches us through musical theater about ambivalence. But like, I can be excited and scared. You know, I can be sorry and I can be grateful. You know, I love it. All the show queens are like, yeah, Stephen Sondheim realness. And what I do know in this moment, knowing that I have shelter and I have food, is that this is not the first time in my life that I've found myself facing nothing. That's what you do as an actor. The contract ends and you show up back to New York City with nothing. And you start from scratch. It's not the privilege of like, oh, I was a manager and I'm a senior manager and I'm a senior vice president of managers and now, like, that's not the acting. There's no, and to be honest, all of that is fake. Like, the only thing that is sure is that it's unsure. Like certainty is a fallacy. It is not true. You know, and I had to mourn like how killing it 2020 was going to be. And all my witchy women were like, you know, you're a Capricorn and Jupiter's in Capricorn and Saturn's in Capricorn. All your planets are in Capricorn. It's going to be an amazing year. You know, I would like, that looked a certain way. And then all of a sudden the promise of what that year was going to be was completely and totally lost. Mm. Facing nothing. Acknowledging what I do have in this moment, I also know that I have feet that I can plant on planet Earth. Like, I'm still on planet Earth. I'm still here. I'm waking up. I'm a person on this planet. I am here. I have my wit, my intelligence. I have my skills. I have aptitude. I have, I was an entrepreneur. I started from scratch before. Like, this is not the first time I've found myself in a space that is unfamiliar, trying to chart a path. And it's not a time for a sprint for the finish line. It's a marathon. And in this moment, I can look around me and start ascertaining what is here, what is emerging, what is true, how am I listening hypersensitively, right? What's present, what's emerging, what feels true, what feels authentic, what feels right, and starting to shift my internal compass to allow what is emerging to emerge. Right? For me, that's been about community and generosity. That's what's been resonating for me. That's where I've focused all of my energy in my work around my business, is around creating a safe space for people to be in the conversations that I believe matter at this moment, and doing so generously, and also showcasing all the brilliant thought leaders that are in my community, right? I've also channeled my anxiety into lyrics, to show tunes. I have a song, when my mask tears, when my gloves rip, and I'm stuck in line, I simply remember the feel of a touch and crawl back to quarantine. You know, or quarantining, it's a patriotic thing to do, though the deep state set are trying to get us all to work and catch the flu. The doctors have told us what to do, to cover your face in case I chew, and wash your hands. Yes! Don't drink chlorine brands. Right. They're always saying, don't, you know. So there's this creativity that's bursting up that I'm just like allowing to channel. And I'm also creating time I'm singing again, you know, and I'm doing so from a space of connection to intimacy and exploration, and not performance, although that was. But like, you know, what is this moment? What is this moment in a Shakespearean moment, in a musical theater moment, where the context is so fucking out of whack that it's a moment for poetry and it's a moment for song. what is the song that's emanating from me that's looking to be expressed in this moment? And just being really curious to see what's emerging, right?
Wow.
That's kind of what's percolating in this moment, right? And assessing moment by moment what feels true and authentic in this moment, in my business, as I'm serving people, continuing to deliver and innovate moment by moment. And 3 weeks ago, I was like, I'm not lost. I don't know where I am right now. Ah! And I feel like I'm gaining footing. And 3 weeks from that point, I feel like I'm finding that the path is emerging, not with a machete, do you know what I mean? But like I'm finding my way through the shrubbery and through the bush. And I feel like I'm getting closer and closer to the path that is emerging. My North Star remains the same. My commitment remains the same. But I've just been like helicoptered to another mountain. Do you know what I mean? And I'm just like trying to find my way back.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we're all going to be navigating to whatever this new normal is going to be. And I suspect it's going to take time for all of us, and it will be an evolution. It's not going, there's not a light switch. It's just it's going to be an evolution. So yeah. I want to share just a quick few words with the group, and then I want you to be able to share, Eduardo, as well as far as what you're doing right now. So we can share that with the group in email. So at the bottom right here, you'll see there's a website there, hummingbirdhumanity.com/live. I'd love to hear your thoughts. This is the first time out. Next time I'll try not to mute myself when I'm doing the opening words. But Eduardo and I would certainly love to hear your comments, and I would love to hear your suggestions for how we can make sure that this serves your needs. And next week, my dear friend Lydia Finette, who is the author of The Most Powerful Woman in the Room Is You, is going to be joining me. So hope you'll come back and tell someone else, invite someone, bring friends. Everyone is welcome. So Eduardo, I know you're doing some fun things too. Do you want to just wrap us up with your final comments and share what you're doing to give back to the world?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you text the following number, which is 66866, and then text Fearless Now, capital F, capital N. So 66866, and then Fearless Now. I have this little pocket guide that I call 10 Simple Backstage Tips to Go from a Speaker to a Star. So I get to be Jiminy Cricket, on your shoulder, when you wish upon a star. That's like your biggest champion, to just be a fucking person the next time that you have to speak. And there's no such thing as private speaking. All speaking is public speaking. If you're speaking, someone can hear you. So there's that. So that's my gift for all of you. And you can find me at www.fearlesscommunicators.com, which is the website for my business. And then we also have, you can follow me on Instagram at Eduardo Placer, EduardoPlacer. And that way you'll find out about all of our programs. We have our Fearless Chat series, which we're doing every Tuesday and Thursday. And we're about to start a new series called Spark, Shift, Shit, Shine. And it's 4 parts. It's 4 of our fearless women that are leading this. The first one is about that spark, that idea that you've been wrestling with. It's kind of maybe in the back of your mind, or a new project or a new pivot or something that you're thinking about. It's really aligning with what the moment is sparking for that feels authentic to you. The shift is then how you pivot. So that's the next one. It's like pivoting. How do you pivot? When do you pivot? When's the right time to pivot? Then shit is called Get Shit Done. And we have an amazing woman who actually breaks that down. It's an acronym, so it stands for something, which is really awesome. And the last piece is how you bring shine to it. And those are totally free. So we would love to have you join. And by texting me that, we'll make sure that you can, the 66866, we'll make sure that you'll get access to all of our communications around that.
Awesome. And I've had a chance to join his Fearless Chat series, and they're amazing. I've benefited from your generosity. So I want to say thank you. It's 66866. Is that what it is, Edward?
66866. Correct.
And you type Fearless Now.
Fearless Now.
It's important to put the emphasis on the right syllable.
On the syllable. Yes. Yeah.
Eduardo, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your stories. Yeah. To everyone that's watching, thank you so much for joining us as we kick off this new series. I'm so grateful. And Angelo, thank you for being in the background. Any final words? Any final words from you, Eduardo, before we say goodbye?
Wherever you are, may you be healthy. May your loved ones be healthy, and just be a fucking person.
Absolutely. I wish you all positive vibes, sending positive vibes your way, and I wish you all good health in this time. Let's take care of each other. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.